You are away from. Okay, it looks like we're being live streamed and then it'll pop up. All right. Good morning, everybody. Hello and good morning. I am so very excited. We are rolling through the program. I am so excited to have you all here. I am Vihil Vigil. I am an international women's empowerment coach. I am the CEO of the Empowerment Empire. We produce Magistra Magazine, quarterly power luncheons for women entrepreneurs and those who love us, as well as the monthly International Women in Business Mastermind. Now, each month we feature a unique and amazing, awesome lady to share her expertise, knowledge, education, training, etc. But for the month of May, it's always something different. And so for the third year in a row, I'm so proud to host the May Money Talks Mastermind. What this is all about is where we have the opportunity for you to register at $100 to pay for the awesome 20 plus page workbook that we've put together. And all of that money goes straight into our fundraiser for the Young Women Entrepreneur Education Foundation. Now, this foundation provides cash scholarships to women at the end of the year. So if you're feeling generous and you feeling like, you love our show, you love the empowerment and the business information that we're putting out there to you all the time, please definitely donate to that cause and donate to that scholarship fund and contact me if you'd like to apply. Other than that, you can register still for free for this event. And if you're lucky, you can catch us live in one of our awesome groups. So today is Thursday, and I would like to introduce a super phenomenal and fabulous lady. She is Angela Brand, the Master Fire Trainer. Look her up at angelabrandenterprise.com. The Master Fire Trainer is a best-selling author, personal branding specialist, and a transformational speaker. Love my transformational speakers because we are always transforming, ladies, always. My mission is to equip passionate and purpose-driven authors, coaches, and speakers with the tools needed to transform her mess into her money to make millions and reach millions. And I love that line. Let's say that again. Transform her mess into her money to make millions and reach millions. I love that so much. As a result of using her powerful Riches Business Blueprint and her fire coaching and speaking methods, you can see why I was super excited to meet this phenomenal woman. Her clients are able to effectively step on any stage with confidence, power, passion that leads them to more opportunities and connections to advance their speaking and coaching businesses. With over 12 years of experience, which has enabled her to embody the power to shift mindsets, transform lives at every level. So if you're ready to become a fire girl, because girl, we are, rise up, gain clarity, build a six-figure coaching and speaking business, contact this amazing woman right now. Put her information into your phone, angelabrandenterprise.com, and allow her to ignite the fire within you. We are going to be talking today about tapping into her riches. Please give me a beautifully warm welcome to the phenomenal Angela Brand, the girl on fire.
Hello.
Round of applause.
Yay! I'm so excited to be here. Thank you so much. I am honored to be a part of the empowerment platform. The Girl on Fire, the Master Fire Train. I'm ready to show you ladies how to tap into those riches.
I love it. So tell us more about you. Because tell me, I don't know where you're physically at right now. So tell me where you're at and a little bit more about your background.
Well, I'm physically in Charlotte, North Carolina, but I was born and raised in Detroit, Michigan, migrated to Atlanta, came to Charlotte to reinvent myself for that change. And I'm an empty nester, so I am loving the life. And I have three amazing children and have an amazing granddaughter, 7 years old. Her name is Mariah. That is my heart. Like I said, I'm a very passionate woman. I'm self-driven, self-motivated, self-educated, called and anointed and appointed by God to help 1 million women to speak, write, and coach in her fire. And I will stop at nothing until I live full and die empty.
I love that. I am so excited about hearing more about your platform and the work that you produce. I have been stalking you a little bit on social media, watching some of your videos and looking at your posts. And there's always this really great level of energy that you put out there. It is true, it is honest, it is heated energy that I'm like, she is definitely the girl on fire. How did you feel like you really found your way into
You know what?
this?
I always say it come from me going through the fire. That, coming out of my mess and dealing with so many different things and enduring so many things, but still knowing that I had a purpose. And when you go through so much and you sow most of your labor in tears and in struggle, the poverty mindset, heartbreaks, you get to a point to where you say, you know what, I'm more than this. And that fire has always been in me. And it wasn't really ignited to the fullness until I told God I was never going to speak again. I was like, no, I'm never going to speak again. Those who know me, I pastored for 4 years. When I closed the church and moved to Charlotte, I was at my low place, my very low place. And I got to the point where purpose started calling me again. And I walked off my job with no money saved, driving Uber on the side. And I was so determined that this time was going to be the time that I was going to not only just walk in my purpose, but train other women to walk in theirs as best-selling authors, as world-renowned speakers, as transformational coaches. And that's how the fire started.
You and I have a lot in common. I have been saying that to a couple of different women that I have met during this development of our speaker program here. And it's that when you get to the point where you don't want to do it anymore, you don't want to be unhappy anymore, you don't want to be in the midst of doing something that is not driving you with sole purpose, then you have to make this decision. It's like your higher power is coming down on you and the world is telling you you need to change or you're going to fall into a deep dark hole and never come out. And like those are my words. Like that's what I talked about previously, is that I felt like I was going down this deep dark tunnel, and if I went all the way down there, I didn't feel like I would ever come out, and there was no way I was going to do that. I have a young daughter, and I left a pretty rough relationship, which I thought was my forever situation, and walked away from the job, walked away from the relationship with nothing, and was like, I don't know what I'm going to do, but I know that I'm going to help women free themselves from this kind of an environment. So let me figure out how to free myself. And then once I figure out how to free myself, then I'm going to train the women around me.
To be totally honest, I started preaching around 2008, and I physically started my ministry in 2010, and I transitioned into pastoring. And I always say that's what I thought what people wanted me to do. That's a whole nother challenge, a whole nother weight. When I came to the realization, God did not call me to do that. He called me to empower and to train women, not to pastor a church. That was my light bulb moment, and that started my healing journey, because I was leading while bleeding.
Yeah.
And so many of us, we have led flock, we have led organizations, we are still bleeding. So I had to stop, and that change had to start within me, within my mind, within my spirit, within my body, within how I see myself, and really deal with the daddy issues that I was dealing with. Because we cannot be effective, the powerful women that we know we're called to, when we still have the baggage, the old hurt, and the pain. We talk about it all the time, but do we really sit down and get the help that we need to become the fire girls we know we are called to be?
You can't pour from an empty cup.
My favorite saying. Yeah.
There was a moment, and I thank you for being willing to have this conversation and really talk about this topic. I know that a lot of the women in our program, where we will talk about, wealth building, money management, finance this, budgeting that, accounting systems. But we have to always remember, I always intentionally sprinkle the conversation throughout the month with conversations like ours, with let's talk about you as a person and why you don't already have these sorts of systems in place. Well, for one, for me, I wasn't raised knowing that, my mom was always like, you got to keep a budget. Okay, great. What does that mean? Like, okay, I got, like, we used to do our checkbooks and I hated that. That drove me insane. It was too much like focus,
Right.
like tell me why I need to focus on this. And so I share that example as a reminder of when a lot of us were growing up, we weren't equipped with the tools and we don't come with the family knowledge that is just naturally passed down to this is how you wealth build. This is how you, get invest in the stock market when you're 18 years old. This is how you start building a real estate portfolio, as soon as you are qualified for a loan, or as soon as, like, we give you money to go get, buy your first house so you can have 10 by the time you're 30. We don't
Exactly.
come from that. Like, I don't come from that.
I didn't come.
We come from nothing, a lot of love and a lot of good food, but, and a lot of confusion and a lot of bad learned behaviors, as Spanish people, from my family, and as Native American people, we are Apache and we are Navajo. We come from a lot of trauma, and we are taught that, that historical trauma lives inside of us, and for us to break free from those mental blocks and those stigmas that we are born carrying.
Yes.
If we don't address those things, they will eventually creep up and hold us back and pull us down. We spoke on Tuesday, excuse me, with Itzel Baeza, and she talked about how we need to forgive ourselves with, for our money mistakes that were made based on needing to make a decision in the moment, and having to make that decision based on the tools that we had at the time, which typically, if you're not from a wealthy family or from a family of wealth and knowledge, that gets passed down to you, you don't make probably the best decision because you don't have that knowledge.
Exactly.
One of the stories that we have been talking about, I think, throughout the fabric of this program is, what is it that we do consistently? Is we push forward, we do what we're told. I went to school, I went to, I wanted to go to college, but my family couldn't afford to send me to college. So I joined the Navy. Through the Navy, I got to travel the world and get plucked out of my small little farming town and thrown out into the world. But I still didn't have the tools. So I was making money, but I still didn't have the tools to manage it. But I kept pushing forward. And I thought, oh my God, I finally have like a couple $1,000. Let me go buy this. Let me go buy that. If I were to actually have had the knowledge to, let's put half that check into a savings account and never touch it until you buy a house. Never touch it. I'd have my 10 houses by now. But I wasn't given that knowledge. And so I want to clear the air for some of the women who are attending our program, that you can't beat yourself up for what you don't know. Join the opportunity to strengthen your book of knowledge, strengthen your tool bags of tools that are going to help you live life on a more, on a little easier level, on a less of a struggling level. Can you talk to your experiences about how you found your tools to help you level up to get to this point where you were able to give to others?
Okay, so that's leading right into tapping into her riches, right? So let's talk about, what does riches stand for? Riches stand for real impact or investments, changes her economic status.
Oh my God.
Real investments or impact changes her economic status. And that first investment or that impact is how she sees herself. So tapping into her riches is possessing the promises of God. It's about coming into divine alignment with your birthright. We were born to be rich. We were born to be wealthy. And everything that we have is in us. It's a divine juice within us that produces the abundance, the wealth and prosperity in all our businesses, our relationships, our health, and our spiritual life. When you share your riches with others, God in return give you riches, whether that be rich ideas, rich creativity, just the riches of value that you bring. And as a woman, we have to know what we have is valuable. It's much more than our body. It's much more than our sexual orientation. It is much more than that. But it's the ability that God gave us to create. And he first gave us the ability to create life. So if you're living in lack or living in poverty, you have not tapped into the power of creation. Within that power to create, we can create anything that we want when we tap into the divine power of our feminine energy. We can create. That is more valuable than any dollar amount, more valuable than any stock. When you know that you can create whatever you want because the richness lives within you, there is nothing. But the problem come in is how we see ourselves and our ability to create the life, the extraordinary life that God wants us to have. Most women see themselves out of the eyes of the people who hurt them, the people who misused them, the people who abused them. When we begin to see ourselves out of the eyes of the Creator, which is abundance, with His wealth, which is riches, with His unlimited supply, we are co-creators with God. And if you're living the life that you don't want to live, just stop and look in the mirror because you created it. We don't have the power to change our generational things that we've been through, but we do have the power to change our right now and what we're going to become. And we have to make that decision that, okay, today I am rich. I may not see financial gain in my account. I may not see the investments come in. I may not see the clients, but declaring that I am rich. And with that mindset, God will give you the divine ideas, the divine revelation to create the wealth that you need. And most of that comes from our gifts and our talents. That's what makes us rich, our gifts and our talents. Utilizing that, the Bible says our gifts will make room for us and bring us before great men and women. That's the riches. But we see ourselves of, I'm not enough. I'm not educated enough. I don't have enough. I sung that song for so many years, and I could not understand that God placed in me the wealth and abundance that I needed to create it and manifest it in the natural.
We hold ourselves back so much based on the view that others have placed on us.
Mm-hmm.
And how, so for me, the way that I was able to walk through that fire was I created, eventually it became the program that I call Therapeutic Empowerment. It's going through this therapeutic process to find my power again, because I felt like I had just been stripped of it from abusive relationships, from toxic work environments, from spinning the wheels, constantly doing what I thought I was supposed to be doing, getting the corporate job that had the 401k and a nice retirement plan. And I wanted to have a baby. So I had my daughter at 35, but I was still running all of these wheels. And she was like the one thing that I really did for myself was I wanted to have a child. And so I did. And going through trying to continue to spin the wheels, doing all of the other things that I felt like I was supposed to do, I was losing myself. Eventually, I spun those wheels so much that I ended up in a dark place. And I had to just break free of it all. So I took my little girl and left. And that was a really hard decision. My family was like, what are you doing? Like, you're leaving this security. I left it for my own mental health. I left it because it was time for me to put myself first and to stop. I gained great knowledge during that experience. I mean, I worked for some really great companies. I learned global enterprise and how to connect with people. I learned, software solutions, and I learned, how to easily travel to lots of different places, as a business traveler all the time, that what I was doing. And I just got to the point where it wasn't that the work was too much, it's that I wasn't doing it for myself.
Yes.
And when I finally decided to do it for myself, I walked away from that career, pulled out all of the money I had in savings, and I spent 2 years going to therapy. I had the most amazing therapist. That's when I started finding the coaching industry. That's when I started realizing that I didn't know how to put myself first. I knew how to go to school. I knew how to go to school and get degrees, because that's what I was taught to do. I was always a good student. So go to school. I was always a bookworm. I think as an only child growing up in an environment that was not very stimulating, I found my life in books. So to read a textbook wasn't that much different than, reading Island of the Blue Dolphins or something that I loved to read for pleasure as a 13-year-old kid. But beyond that, I wasn't sure who I was or what I was supposed to do. I knew I had this little girl, that it was what I truly wanted, but what else did I want? Can you talk a little bit about your exploration, about how you found what you want when you left the things that you felt you were originally called to do, and you have transitioned into what you're doing now?
I would say it found me. We when we come to a place of surrendering, okay, we have what mama told us we wanted, we have what we think we should do. But when you allow your purpose to live through you, everything you need finds you. But it's coming into that divine alignment. When I started my coaching business, I really just wanted to coach, women empowerment. And I remember my coach saying, well, you can start your own coaching training. And I'm like, me, I'm not qualified to certify other coaches. I'm not this and I'm that, not that. So when I sat down, I wrote down all of my experience and the trainings, the knowledge that I had. I'm like, wow, I am more than qualified. So I started that. And as I began to build, women were coming to me, okay, I want to speak and I want to do this. So I created a tour, I created a platform from her. So everything that I've accomplished now, it found me along the way, but it really took me being yielded to the process and not always thinking that I'm not qualified, but being a good steward at the level that I was, and mastering that level and allow, excuse me, and allow it to grow on its own and not forcing it to grow because of what we see people do on social media. I decided that everything that I wanted to do, but everything that I was called to do, I was going to be a good steward. And being a good steward allow things to grow and that momentum to build. So the first thing is really yielding, seeing what you have and what other people are coming to you for. And when people start coming to you asking questions, and I want to do this and I want to do that, guess what? They're coming to you because you are their coach or you are their trainer. And I just packaged it, and here I am today.
Hence how I discovered my great desire for therapeutic empowerment. After going through those 2 years of really like looking at myself and working through with my amazing therapist, who I absolutely adore and respect highly, because she asked me the hard questions that I didn't really want to look at. She put up the mirrors and was like, yes, you've been through hell and back. Yes, you have suffered horrific types of abuse. Yes, you have gone through the lion's den, but you know what? You're here. You're still here.
Yeah.
And you are in an environment where you are submitting to the process
Yes.
figuring out what's next by acknowledging that you don't know everything and that you need help. Once I realized that, I didn't have a direction. And so growing up, I was raised in a Catholic church. From Catholic church, my grandfather passed away and I swore off going to church for the rest of my life. And I had a lot of anger issues around that. Went to college and studied world religions. Went to college and studied Buddhism for a long time. Tapped into my life as a Native American spiritualist, and then came full circle. And one of my really, really good friends is, very, very religious, lives in the church practically. Everything that she does surrounds the church. And she was like, Vihil, you don't have to think about, that higher power as Jesus Christ if you don't believe in following that particular man or that particular thought. Muhammad in the world of Islam was an amazing person. Buddha was an amazing person. There are these philosophers throughout our lives. She's like, but the reason why we call them God is because they are a good, orderly direction to follow. She's like, however you look at it, find your good, orderly direction and let it guide you. And when I finally, I get chills thinking about that, because I was so focused on what others were placing on me, I didn't allow my own light to shine through. That I was so concerned with being who I was supposed to be based on others' expectations and others' definitions, I wasn't able to let my own light shine.
And I always say God, divine, universe, whatever people want to call them, it has to be personal. It has to be inward and it has to be personal. Because we all have our own convictions. We all have our own divine callings in different aspects in the church, out the church. But first and foremost, is not always attached to a building. It's personal.
Yeah.
Inward. That's where we get messed up, is because, okay, if you don't go to this church, you this, and they all have their different teachings around wealth and finances. But we have to find out what works best for us and our direction and our purpose and that personal relationship. And when you tap into that aspect of your riches, everything will flow. What I may do may not work for you. What you do may not work for me, but it's me being true to who I am, the rich girl that I am, and commit to that. And so that I can see the tangible manifestations as well as the spiritual manifestations and tap into the riches.
I think we get so caught up in what other structures place on us that we get dampened, and we don't take the time to really focus inward. Mm-hmm. What are some of the processes that you would recommend to the women who are listening to this program? Now, this program is being live streamed into our group that's called The Empowered Woman by the Therapeutic Empowerment, and it's filled with about 1,000 women who are looking for sources of inspiration, processes to empowerment. And we've been talking about how, yes, it starts from within. I speak freely and openly about how, I went and I found myself a therapist, and I went through about 3 of them before I found the right one that worked for me. Then I started going through booking appointments with different coaches just to talk to them. I learned how to do informational interviews. When I was working at one of those previous corporate jobs that I was in, they taught me how to do informational interviews so I could learn more about someone else and their life and their process. Hence, probably why we have the IWB Mastermind now, because now it gives me a chance to still do that because I love it so much. But that's my process. Like, what was your experience with finding different ways to sort of get through that fire?
Opening my spirit to receive.
Yeah.
Opening my spirit to receive The fire, there's an acronym for fire. The F is my feminine energy. I had to open myself to receive it. I had to open myself to receive that I have an impact and I have influence, knowing that I have riches inside of me and knowing that I'm extraordinary.
Oh, I love that so
Those,
much.
those are my daily affirmations. When people say, okay, he got a girl on fire, or I'm a fire girl, my fire is my feminine energy. It's my impact, it's my riches, it's my extraordinary life. So for me, it's like God showed me my lane of genius. Show me where my wealth will flow from, and then give me the grace to walk in it. Guide me through it so I can be this empowered woman to empower other women. And defining what empowerment means, because we all have a definition of empowerment. It's been said for years, but when I really looked at the definition of my purpose of to empower women, is to help women access the power within them. Whether it's the power to speak, the power to coach, the power to show up, the power to write best-selling books, tapping into the power that's already in you as a woman. And that goes back to the ability to create. Not the mindset of hustle and grind, and not the mindset of I have to work hard to be successful, but creating a strategy, a blueprint that works for you and being committed to that. I have the fire blueprint. You may have another blueprint, but getting that blueprint and applying it to your life, seeing the results and knowing that it is enough to make you millions and reach millions.
I have your be fierce, be feminine.
Wow.
6 qualities every speaker needs to be transformational. And I read through this a couple of times.
Wow.
And I love the way that, so I also do a lot of workbooks because I love it. I love putting together workbooks and packets, and we're working on our Boss Latinas anthology, which is like 50 women who are coming together to write their stories, to share. And I love the way that you present information. So we oftentimes ask in coaching if our listeners here are tuning into our conversation, and if you've worked with a coach before, or if you're a business owner and you're starting you often get times asked, what is your why? Develop the why. And I love that you start off with, think about how you want your legacy to look and how it will impact the people who will follow behind you. It's in so many other situations, the why is, a service or a product or something that you are wanting to put out there. But I like how yours looks within first. What do you want your legacy to look like? And how will it impact the people who will follow behind you? I think it's a very, very important that we ask ourselves. Number 2, decide the lifestyle you want to live and be willing to commit to the outcome. Now, this is not specific to, I need to set up my structure, I need to have this product, et cetera, et cetera. It's more about look at the bigger picture, at the larger impact. You can talk about the details once you are in tune with the larger picture and your larger self. Number 3, think about something, here we go, that is much bigger than yourself and outlive you. Now develop. There's something that is much bigger than yourself and will outlive you. Now develop and strengthen your why so life will come to you and you can stay focused in your business. I think exactly to what you said. When we are trying to force a square peg in a round box, it's not going to fit. You have to find, what is it that works for you? What is the passion within inside of you? That's where you will find your wealth and riches once you proclaim it for yourself.
My 7-year-old grandbaby, when I wrote my first book and I was visiting them, I think she was visiting me in case scenario, when I said, Mariah, I want you to read this when you get older. And she had these beautiful, amazing eyes. And she said, Gma, you're going to have to remind me. I may not remember. And when they moved to Michigan, only thing I can remember, will she remember me? So remember rang in my ear. And when I think about my why, will the next generation remember the work that I did? Will they remember my name? Will they remember my impact? Will they remember my quotes? Will they remember my speeches? Will they remember Angela Brand Enterprise? So when I think about everything that I'm doing, I'm coming from that standpoint that I want to be remembered. And I'm letting God know that the reason he created me would not be in vain, that I would do everything that he called me to do. Not only to he be glorified, but they will remember the work he did through me. That's the biggest thing. So all of my books are created as manuals so that I can be remembered. Things a woman can apply to her life, teach her daughters, teach her nieces, teach her sisters, teach her mother, teach her friends. These are the Platinum Code. This is the Platinum Code of Conduct. This is what AB stands for. This is what the fire blueprint for speaking stands for. This is how you coach in your fire, speak in your fire, write in your fire, because I left the blueprint. But I focus on the speaker, not always the speaking. That's the difference when you're coming from the richest mindset. Is that the value is within me in the words that I speak. But in order for me to speak the riches, I have to see my own riches and walk in those riches. That understanding, no matter where I live, how much money that I have, that I am rich. Rich in my creativity, rich in my ideas, rich in relationships. There's riches all around us. We have to see it as riches. And knowing that real impact changes her economic status.
I love the acronyms. I
Thank
love that we can think about it in that way. It's something that helps us remember it. And I know everyone who is listening to our program and will listen in the future, when they think of riches, they're going to think of it differently now.
I don't think of different. And if anybody listen, I do have an ebook called Tapping Into Her Riches that I can email you so you can get access to that as well.
Absolutely. If you will send me the link for that information, I can put it in this online chat. I want to be respectful of your time. I realize it's about 9:50, and I want to know what is next for Angela Brand, the girl on fire. What do you have coming up next that we need to tap into?
Well, I just kicked off the Her Fire 12 City Tour, so I'm so excited about that. It's the rebranded platform that I created for my female speakers that I've trained, female coaches that I trained, and other female speakers that need a platform. It is the world's #1 platform for female speakers. It is a 12-hour from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m. We have amazing, powerful speakers. We start off with prayer. We start off with meditation, and I go into a full femininity workshop. Each speaker talk about the 4 elements of fire: the feminine energy, the impact, the riches, and how to show up extraordinary. So next we are in Hampton, Virginia, June 11th. I am looking for more speakers, or you want to register or apply to speak, you can go to herfiretour.com, set up an interview. After that, we'll be in Dallas, June 25th, Atlanta, July 9th, we got July 23rd, and every 2 weeks after that until the end of the year. So all the cities are listed. Like I said, you can register, you can apply, but I'm so honored and grateful to just the presence and the energy that we experienced this past weekend on Charlotte. And just the response, people didn't want to leave. It was just amazing.
Wow.
So, yeah.
One day from 9 a.m. to 9 p.m.
Yes.
Wow. And how many speakers do you usually have?
10.
Wow.
Yeah, 10 speakers.
Wow. When are you coming to California?
When the invitation is open and I have a California host.
Let's talk. Let's talk about that. I grew up in Northern California. I lived in the San Francisco Bay Area. I went to college far north in the Redwoods at Humboldt State University in Arcata, which is like 2 hours south of the Oregon border. It's amidst beautiful redwoods. And then I spent a good bulk of my life in Sacramento Valley. And then my daughter and I relocated. We are, building a new empire here in San Diego area. So we're in Southern California now. And we are very happy to be here and very excited to be creating this, I think, swirling of energy of women's empowerment. And I think it would be an honor to host you here. So let's talk about that. I'd love to have you down here.
Yes, yes. So before we leave, I do want to give one valuable tip that's tangible for a woman to really to see her riches in her business. And I just want to ask her this one simple question. So if you're listening, write the question down and really evaluate it. Have you packaged your prices to make you millions or reach millions? Look at your products, your services that you have. Are they packaged to reach millions and make millions? Because we can't change our financial situations if our business is not structured to make us millions and reach millions. And when I started, my life coaching training was $149. That's like, what bill can you pay? What legacy can you create? What wealth can you build at $149? When you know that you have riches, you have to package your products and services to reflect where you want to go, not where you are. I just told a client the other day, and she's in a situation. I told her, don't price your services where you are. Price your services or where you want to go. There is a difference, because with new coaches, they often price themselves low because they feel like they are not in a financial situation or they don't have the value to offer. This is a billion, $trillion industry, and people pay for value. They pay for the results. They invest in the results. They invest in you being able to solve the problem. And if you know without a shadow of a doubt that you are a problem solver and you have the value, package and price your products and service to make you millions and reach millions. And the people will come and see the value and pay and give and sow and invest to what God placed on the inside of you. You have to know that you are enough. You have enough. You know enough. Now show up like the amazing fire girl that you are. That's in your feminine energy, your impact, your riches, and you know that you are extraordinary.
And with that, thank you. Thank you so much, Magic Brand. I love meeting you. I am so honored. And I just want to say thank you so much for your time to join me this morning, to share your knowledge and your passion and your insight. I think I definitely, I put this program out for the last 3 years. This is year 3 where we do this month long. And I know I do it a little bit for myself so that I get to meet these fabulous ladies. It's like taking me back through a month long of like therapeutic journeys where I get to help remind the women in my circle that we are all real ladies. Let's have real conversations that we need to talk about so that we can help one another. Women empowering women is real. If you need help with something, proclaim it and put it out there. Reach out to Angela, reach out to myself, reach out to any of a number of the women that are being featured in this month-long mastermind, because clearly by volunteering and by coming into this program, we are here to give and to serve and to share with you the insight that you do have it within you to create the world that you desire, but you might need help to pull it out, to help it brew and grow and flower and prosper and bloom.
Yes.
So don't hold yourself back. I think you have two prime examples of women who we did that. We went through the motions, and where we have found our true power again is in the gifts that innately were already inside of us. We just had to figure out a way to bring them out and to share them with the world. Thank you so very much. I am honored. We'll definitely keep in touch about how and when you will be in California at some point. I am definitely my family. I have a lot of family in Colorado area, and now I have family in Idaho. And so I will keep an eye on your schedule. And whenever I am like looking at your schedule, it'd be awesome to come and join with you and to attend. I love speaking as well. And so I will definitely tap into where you're going to be and when you need speakers to put my application in. And with that, to remind women who are hearing this, that don't be afraid to put yourself out there. Don't be afraid to say, this is what I like to do. And if you need someone to do that for you, consider me to do it, because I love this.
Yeah, but the thing is, most of all the women, I'm going to say about 98% of the women on my platform have never spoken until they either join I have a motivational speaking certification program. They either joined the course or joined the tour and got the training after. This is not a platform for established speakers. It is a launching pad for new, expiring, and evolving female speakers. So you can be a woman who have never spoken before, never seen yourself as a speaker, but you have words of wisdom to share. This is your platform to shine. And I am your trainer that you need. So you don't have to be perfect. You don't have to have a speech put together. I will help you put together your speech. That's the so amazing part about it. Is you don't need any experience.
Just
I have knowledge you need. Yeah.
Just that will to do
Just that
what you are meant to do. Thank you again so much, Angela. We are at the end of our program. I like with several of the ladies, I felt like we could definitely chat for a couple of more hours. I am, as a reminder to everybody, we are going on live throughout the month of May, Monday through Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific time, talking to phenomenal women willing to share their insights, their expertise, their knowledge about how we can be more in control and more focused over money, wealth, finance. Remember, it starts with you. It can certainly start with you. You don't have to come from a long line of, wealth. You create that. You can create that for yourselves. There's a lot of women in our groups and in our environments that we are the change makers in our families. And it is high time that we embrace that. And this is my way of giving you some insights into some things that you could do to start really embracing that. As a women's empowerment coach, myself, Angela Brand, as a women's empowerment coach, we are here to tell you there are options and there are places where you can turn, and there are women who are able to help you find your essence. And then there are so many women within our organization that can help you with getting your business documented, getting the structure set, getting, your business protections insurance and all of those things that you need to get structured. That's why we are the Empowerment Empire. We are connectors. We will connect you with the woman and the resource that you need to grow and to continue to prosper and thrive. So thank you so very much, everybody, for joining us today. We'll see you again tomorrow. We're speaking with Angela Bruner of My Point Credit Union, and we're going to be getting down to some brass tacks about FICO and credit scores, and that's going to be super sexy and fun. All right, everyone, you have a great day. And Angela, I look forward to connecting with you again very soon.
Thank you. Bye-bye, everyone.